What's up, Desktopers? In this short clip from our all-new podcast, Bodybuilding University, yes, we finally have a name, featuring myself, Xavier Wills, Brett Wilkin, Martin Fitzwater, and Nathan Asha. We discuss the entire athlete rep situation, what went down between Fouad Abiad and Bob Cicherillo, plus much more. Hope you guys really enjoy it, and if you do enjoy this short clip, head over to our channel. We've got 4 episodes up already of this podcast, and the next one will be the 5th, which this clip is actually from, so make sure you do check that out. Anyway, guys, enjoy the episode. But I wanted to discuss a little bit. You mentioned it before, Nathan, about the athletes rep thing. Obviously, we saw it went down. Fouad mentioned it in a podcast, the live bro chat they did. And then Bob Cicherillo basically, he said about Bob Cicherillo, said basically, about an athletes rep that isn't doing anything or something along those lines. Fouad actually put out his last Bodybuilding Blogs podcast and basically apologized to Bob. And he actually had a conversation with Bob on the phone and apologized to him there as well. But most people were siding with Fouad online, even under Bob's stuff. A lot of people were siding with Fouad, but we're not going to get into who's right, who's wrong. But I wanted to discuss with you guys a little bit about that conversation about an athlete's rep, about maybe doing things differently, maybe just the athletes knowing a little bit better that there actually is an athlete's rep, because some people don't know it. But I'll go to you first, Brett. What's your thoughts on, I suppose, the whole conversation about what went down? And then also, would you like to see maybe, not necessarily things completely changed, but what would you like, I suppose, in terms of an athlete going forward?
So, yeah, I think it was an interesting one for sure. Yeah. Bob went off, and you got to think, because he just thought it was a personal attack. And I see where Fouad was coming from in some regards, but he was also pretty vicious about it. I saw the clip and he was just well, we don't, he doesn't do anything. He never named Bob, but was saying how, they need to step up. And in some regards, he was correct in that, you don't see a lot of what Bob does, but it's because it's behind the scenes. And I'm not saying he does it, does a lot, but he does obviously things. He listed them off. But it's just, we don't necessarily know about it. He had a say in creating, what he say, women's physique. He had a say in creating classic physique. So it's those are big deals. But we didn't know about that because it wasn't, publicized or marketed or anything like that. So I think he did have the right to go on there and defend himself and say, hey man, you just need to do a little research and see that I do stuff. Could there be more activity from him? Yes. There could be, they could get emails get emails of all the professional athletes and, send out monthly letters or more relationship with athletes to hear us out. He doesn't just have to sit there and be well, if they need anything, they should just figure out my email. So it's you also got to think do we, and I don't know how deep I want to go into this, but he has to play both sides too, because Bob's actually employed, by the IFBB. He's not employed by them, but he works directly with them. And so he if he's going to represent the athletes, do we want somebody? You got to think like football. You got to think of the players rep on there. He's solely on the athlete side. So it's players rep in football is going clashing with the Roger Goodell, the owners, So it's I'm solely going to only represent the athletes, and I'm going to fight you guys for as much leeway as you'll give me, But here it's he's on both sides of the fence. So he's got to play right down the middle all the time. So it's would you rather have when Sean Ray did it, he was solely athletes only. I'm going to be a nuisance to these guys, and I'm going to get the most out of the athletes as I can. So I would like to see a little bit of more of a step up of him being more known a little bit. I knew he was the athletes rep, but a lot of people don't. You're right. A lot of people don't know we have an athletes rep, but it's also there's more that, and this is a whole discussion on itself, but why don't we go around the route of, health insurance for athletes? Those are things that athletes reps do, is trying to figure out ways of, with this being such with recent health issues and everything, how do they set up insurance for us? Things like that. We still play, but reduced rate, things like that. So, because there's a lot of bodybuilders out there that aren't on health insurance, we know that. And, they're just fucking, playing Russian roulette right now. So it's there's many avenues he could go and, maybe approach it more. But like I said, he's done a lot for the league. He's done a lot for the athletes. So it's you don't come out and act like he hasn't done anything. I didn't hear I didn't hear that Fouad actually apologized. So that's good to see that he
Yeah.
apologized on how he approached it, and it should have been approached a different way.
Yeah. He basically apologized and then said, I think there still can be more done, which is absolutely the truth. And I think that was probably, honestly, to be honest, the right thing to do as well, because it did come off as a little bit harsh. It was short and harsh. And then Bob obviously went pretty harsh and long. He had a lot of comments and stuff. But Martin, what do you think? Like, obviously being a relatively new pro, what do you want to see more, I suppose, as an athlete, and what do you think about the whole situation?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I think Brett really touched over everything greatly, but I personally didn't know that Bob was our rep. So that's something like Brett said, that it needs to have a better presence, and something that we need to talk about. I think even a better example than the football is baseball, because they actually lock out. I mean, these players' unions, which is what we need to essentially, what an athlete rep essentially assembles as a players' union. And they have lockouts, and they say, we're not going to do a show until you make the prize money $25,000. Maybe we do that, but we as athletes also have to step forward, all come together as a union, and start making those judgment calls and saying, hey, promoters, sorry, but not a single IFBB Pro bodybuilder is going to do an open show that doesn't have prize money of $25,000 or whatever we decide to do. But we also have to get involved as athletes too. So, that's something that us younger guys that are all just kind of coming up the ranks right now, me, Brett, Hunter, Nathan's a veteran, but he's right here too, that we can kind of take those steps, and maybe we need to start doing that. Obviously you don't want to piss the league off, but at the end of the day, they still need us. So you can play a little bit in our advantage. Whether Bob is doing that behind the scenes or not, I don't personally know as much about that, but I think that us as athletes can do more too. So it's something that at least it's all getting brought to light. And I think that that's important more than anything, is now athletes know that we have someone that represents us. Maybe we can start reaching out. Maybe we do set up something, and we see things like that, like Brett said, health insurance or prize money or any of those things. I mean, there's a multitude of things that we can do to make this better for athletes or easier for athletes. Even talking about, hey, let's talk to promoters about flying people to these shows to get the shows to be bigger, like we've talked about in past podcasts as well. So I think it's beneficial in the fact that we know now that there's avenues that we can take to start making those changes.
Yeah, Nathan, I'm sure you won't hold back on your opinion. What's your thoughts on obviously probably what Fouad said, what Bob said, and then obviously the whole situation, and what would you like to see, I suppose, from the federation to, I suppose, to benefit athletes more in a way, I guess, or what you like to see?
It's not really the federation, is it? To benefit the athletes. It's more the athletes to benefit the athletes.
Yeah.
One, I thought Fouad was right in what he said. I personally knew that there was an athlete rep from my second pro show. Bob introduced himself to me at the New York Pro, said, Bob Cicherillo, athlete rep, whatever. And need anything, message me. Didn't have his Instagram, so I just followed him at the time. So I knew from the get-go, but I didn't know what an athlete rep was, to be totally honest. I've always said, we need a union. We do. But bodybuilding's such a fucking bitchy ass sport and a selfish sport that, Martin said then, we're not going to do a show unless we get 25,000. Now, I'll tell you this, I'm all for that. I'll say no. I ain't doing a show unless I get 25G. But you'll get some dipshits who just turned pro at the fucking Iceland Classics or something, and he'll just jump in the show. And then when that one person removes the brick, everything comes crumbling down, bro. Everything comes down. And that's what bodybuilding is. Unfortunately, we're not a united front. We never will be, because we're not a team. We're an individual entity, right? So, I said before, we look out for ourselves. When we go back to Derek, we're all out for ourselves individually. And it's sad, really, because there's a few guys like myself and the guys in here who would look out for other people, but the majority of them wouldn't. So, you know, the IFBB, I get by the balls. I just laughing because they know they're going to get away with it. You know, I've asked Bob several things for me, advice on things. He's always got back to me straight away. Basically talking to him now in regards to something, in regards to, you know, athletes in a better avenue of making money, where we can and where we can and can't go, because a lot of people are saying we can't do things and we can do things. Well, basically saying we can't do things, sorry. Speaking to Bob in regards to it now. And, you know, he's all for athletes making money. So for me, it was easy to reach out to him. I've always reached out to him. But a lot of the guys don't know who he is. Maybe when you turn pro, you should, you know, get an email off Bob straight away. You know, you turn pro. Hi, you know, I'm Bob Cicherillo, athletes rep. Need anything? Blah, blah, blah. Get on me. Just a generic email. So when you turn pro, you should have to give your email address in, you know, your fucking national insurance number, whatever, you know, date of birth, your contact details. From that, Bob gets on you straight away. But, you know, he is playing devil's advocate because, you know, he works at IFBB and he works for the pro league and so the athletes. So it is kind of hard for him basically to, you know, go there and demand certain things because, again, he's got to look out for Bob, right? So, you know, maybe if he passes the reins, you know, keeps the reins himself, but obviously have someone else, like a manager, who can go to the gym and talk shit and stuff, and then it won't reflect bad on Bob. It'll look bad on that person who's saying it. Do you know what I mean? Someone who'll take the heat off him, even though it's Bob's ideas, then it doesn't look like Bob to be a bit of a fucking pain in the ass. But yeah, you know, both of them are right. Things can be done to change, and we do need a lot of change because we're stuck in the fucking 60s, bro. We're fucking still think fucking Joe Weider owns the gaff. Do you know what I mean? We're fucking stuck in black and white. You know, you fucking ballerinas probably get more money than us. It's fucking literally it's bullshit. So we need to, you know, update this whole new thing. And I think Bob watches these podcasts, and I know he takes knowledge of it. Obviously, he found Fouad's one. So, you know, I'm pretty sure that Bob will do something about it because, you know, he hates not doing shit. Do you know what I mean? So hopefully, man, something comes of it. So in a way, Fouad bringing this up and him and Bob going at it might have ignited something. Who knows? You know?
Yeah, I honestly think so, man. Like I think it has and it will. It's been talked about, and hundreds of thousands of people are seeing this conversation as well, sort of play out all through social media and on YouTube and all that sort of stuff. And I think it's sort of a good thing because of these sort of conversations is what leads things to actually happen. So that's why I like why Fouad brought it up. I even like that Bob responded, even though, you know, some people say, oh, that was too harsh or whatever. And he went too hard. It's still good because it keeps a conversation coming up, you know? But
that's Bob not holding no bars, right? He's just telling how it is. That's if you speak to him, you know, Brett spoke to him. That's how Bob talks, like how I talk, you know, swear a lot. I won't say I'm foul mouthed, I talk too fast or whatever. But Bob's just being Bob. You know, so you have to respect the man for respecting him. Fouad's being Fouad. Fouad's kind of on the fence, but opinionated at the same time. And Bob just being himself. So, you know, I don't think people can say he went too hard because he just was himself.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. No, I totally understand that. And I think that, like, this is just my opinion on what I think would be sort of a solution. And is Bob can still have a role, but maybe not call it the athlete's rep because he's no longer an IFBB pro, which, you don't maybe necessarily have to be. I don't know. People have different opinions on that. But if he became almost like, you called him like the athlete liaison or something like that, then we had, you guys had an athlete's rep for each division because there's so many pros now. Like literally there is probably thousands of bikini pros, I'm sure, around the world. There's probably thousands of men's physique pros now. There's probably close to 1,000 classic pros. When you're trying to manage, how many pros would there be? 5,000, 6,000, 7,000? It's a lot of IFBB pros around the world. Yeah,
but you're sending an email out. It's just a generic email, isn't it?
And of course.
I think if you have a different, athlete's rep for every category, then it's going to be more bizarre because then those athletes reps are going to be arguing with each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Then you're going to make more shit. So just keep it to one person. Maybe someone like Dexter who's just left the sport. give him a role because
That'd be
Dexter's quite opinionated at the same time. Like I said, Bob can be the athlete's rep and Dexter can be his fucking, whatever, it's his go-to. And then let Dexter take the shit, but Bob can still be there with the IFBB talking with them and talking with Dex at the same time. Someone like that, or Jay, for example,
Yeah, Jay would be awesome. But if you did have, just say you did have one athlete's rep, one sole athlete's rep, like you said, like a Dexter, then you had one person that sort of from each class that's an active competitor, had Zoom meetings, chatted with all the competitors from that class. So just say you had someone that did the 212s that's competing. And then all the 212 guys said, look, we want a day, a certain amount of time where we know the actual weigh-in is going to be. Because some shows it's 2 days prior, some days it's the day prior, some days it's the morning of the show where they have to weigh in. They might say, look, we want this is what we want as 212 competitors. And that's sort of the loudest thing from them. And then they can take it to say Dexter, and then Dexter can talk to Bob or the federation directly. And then something might happen.
That's so simple, right?
Yeah.
That's so simple to do. They can do it themselves right now. Open your mouth and just say, listen, the show's on a Saturday, the weigh-in's on a Thursday, or Wednesday. Just speak to it. I'm sure if the top 10 open the mouth tomorrow, it'll all be changed. But half of them, I said before, just want to please themselves and don't care about others. Open your mouth, and that can be done at the click of a fucking finger, bro. Do you know what I mean? That's it. It's done. Just, do you know what I mean? The only time a lot of it's changed is people flying in different countries and stuff. But obviously, you say, look, shows on a Sunday, weigh-ins on a Friday night, 7 o'clock, bang, it's done. And that can, if the top 10 done that, it's done. It's fucking, you wouldn't even need to get Bob involved. Just do it straight away. They do it. Because for them, it's easy. Okay, every Friday, if you're not here by 7 o'clock, and there's none of this fucking, you get 20 minutes to fucking lose that 2 pounds. Listen, 7 o'clock comes, your number's there. If you're not in, then you're fucked. You asked for 7 o'clock, you asked for Friday. If you haven't made it by Friday, then fuck off. You can't come running back and say, this is your time. There's only 10 man in the show, or say 11 people in the show. It doesn't take more than 11 people 10 minutes and fucking pair of scales. Sean Creed goes on there with a fucking pair of Air Force fucking 25s, 15 pairs of socks, 25 hoodies, still on the fucking scale. Do you know what I mean? So just get on the scale, do your shit, and then go. So if they set it at a certain time, the Pro League will be happy with that because it's easy for them, and they know that's it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. What's your thoughts, Greg? What would your sort of solution to it all be?
Well, another thing I want to bring up would be so simple to bring up and establish, and I know I've thought of this a lot, and you guys probably have too, is for classic physique, why don't you record your height at your very first show or before your first pro show, and then keep your height the rest of your career? Yeah. Like, you're never going to get taller, right? Like, they're not going to get taller.
You can get stretched out, bro. You can get stretched out.
I don't understand how each year they have for each show of these pros guys, they still have to height in and be worried about making a certain weight. You should have your official height right when you turn pro, either, before the season or your very first pro show. That should be recorded by the IFBB. And then that's your weight you always have to make for the rest of your career, unless they change those weight categories.
Time, right?
Yeah, because you got people that aren't peaked right for shows because, last year they measured in at 5'11", and then they got all the way down there, and then they measured it at 6 foot this year, and they have an extra 10 pounds, So it's always like, and then you're stressed them out there, so it's like, that's something that needs to be established. And I'm sure that's been brought up, and I don't know why it hasn't been implemented. Maybe someone has an answer for me on that, but that's another one that just doesn't make sense to me. It's like, why are these guys, even Chris Bumstead has to height in this year at the Olympia. And you're telling me his height's different than it was last year? No way. You know what I mean? Like, he's going to be the same height, it doesn't make sense. So I don't know. That's another thing. Especially with the 212 too. That was a good one with, always having the weight categories. But what was your question anyway?
I suppose, what would your solution in a way be? Not saying that it's completely broken right now, the whole system, but it's, there are obviously athletes out there that do want things different. So
I actually kind of like, I know what Nathan was saying about when you were saying athlete reps, but I kind of like the idea, but more so making it into a triangle up to Bob. So you have the athlete reps that go directly to Bob, and then they all collaborate. and then Bob presented it to the, to the IFBB,
Yeah.
the changes. So then maybe they can all vote together with Bob, and Bob presents it on to the next level. So I kind of do like that, because you're right. There are so many, every category, there's so many everything anymore, but especially bikini, men's physique, classic physique. There's so many athletes that they need just a single person they can reach out to, bring up these ideas that we're doing right now. Like, hey, can you please pass this forward? Let's have a Zoom call about it and see if we can move it forward. I think that'd be a great solution.
Yeah, sure. Martin, what's your thoughts on it? What would your sort of solution be to the whole athletes rep thing?
Yeah, there's a million different ways we could do this, man. But I think realistically, that's a great idea that you have with the different categories being represented. Because I'm not gonna lie, if I was the athletes rep, I'm probably not going to go to the committee and worry about the bikini problems as much as I'm going to worry about the open bodybuilder problems.
Of course.
And that's just me being 100% honest, So realistically, it should be that way, so that each class gets represented in the right way that they deserve, or think that they deserve, and then the higher up can decide. Or whatever that may be. I haven't put a lot of thought into this because it's not something that, like I said, has really been on my mind. But I do think that, like I said, this can create a lot of generation and a lot of talk. So, realistically, what do you fans think? Let us know down below what you think is what could work or what could be beneficial for us, or maybe what other organizations are doing a good job with athlete stuff like this. Obviously there's all the pro leagues and stuff, but I'm sure we could take something from each one of them.
Yeah, man. And I like what you said as well. I like you encouraging people to get in the comments too, because these shows have actually been really good in terms of people getting in the comments. But no, man, I totally agree. So it's an interesting topic, but we won't sort of continue on too much. Does anyone have any other thoughts on it that they want to sort of bring up about the whole athletes rep thing, or any other comments they want to make?
No, I'm good.
Cool. Let's move on. Let's talk about hope you guys enjoy this short clip from our all-new podcast featuring myself, Martin Fitzwater, Brett Wilkin, and Nathan Asha, which is now available on Desktop Bodybuilding. You can click the link in the description below or click the card just above right there. So I hope you guys enjoyed this, and if you did, please give this video a thumbs up, smash that like button, also subscribe and hit the notification bell button. That way you'll be notified of every video that goes up from myself, Xavier Wills at Desktop Bodybuilding, and you won't miss out on any of our new podcasts that drop as well. So that's it from me, Xavier Wills, also Brett Wilkin, Martin Fitzwater, and Nathan Asha. For all of us, we are